I don't
cannibalism
agree.
a little bit.
It's like it is. It's he's eating birds.
He's not. It's not like
He's eating. It's like if I took a bunch of fetuses and just chugged them.
It's not. It's like if you ate a monkey or something. They're not the same bird. You don't eat. Hello and welcome to What's on the Fourth Floor, summer edition.
Woo!
We've got
Spring break. Oh no.
Spring break.
It's not summer yet, is it? When does summer start?
Summer starts June 22nd,
That's
I
a
think,
long
maybe
time.
21st.
We got a regular calendar expert here.
We can look it up.
We have Taylor, the calendar expert. We have me, the AFM expert, certified, and we have Carter, the
resident ASMR expert.
There we go.
Check out my
For your listening
my
enjoyment.
SoundCloud.
Summer is June 21st, Thursday.
All right, listeners. So if you haven't noticed yet, we're gonna be a bit more freeform with this.
We're gonna have some
What's
fun.
on the fourth floor? Out are the days of the segments, maybe depending on how this goes.
Yeah.
It's a bit of an experiment.
Oh, we'll see.
And when you're a bit more freeform, you get a little
You get little sound
little
effects in there.
surprises like that.
That was post editing, by the way. That wasn't
We
live.
put that in
so
on purpose.
We
though
we all knew that it was going to happen
Yeah.
post-editing.
we were
Yeah.
ready.
We know already where it's gonna be. But I'm gonna go ahead and mute my computer for other reasons, unrelated.
Unrelated.
But anyways, it's the summer now, and we're just gonna talk. We're gonna have a conversation, listeners. You're not gonna be a part of it because you can't talk to us, but
But you can comment.
You can comment.
You can comment on the
you
website.
can comment, and
And we will respond
for the next
in a timely manner.
40 to 60 minutes, you can pretend like you have 3 more friends.
We didn't do much for introducing ourselves, but I feel like 2 seasons in,
You figured it
You
out.
figured
we
it out.
figured it out.
But for the resurgence of new listeners we're gonna get after this overhaul, I'm Carter Walford, your lead host, important wheelman. I got with me my co-hosts.
Taylor Billington.
And Carson Green.
So we're out of school now.
Yes, we are.
We've
What
been
if-
out of school for like 3 weeks.
It's true.
But I'll be back in school in
Oh, yeah.
a week.
Why?
'Cause I have to take Spanish 1 and 2
Ooh,
this
you're
summer.
doing summer
Taking summer
classes?
I have
classes?
10 credit hours this summer
That's
rough.
awful.
On top of research?
on top of research.
That's rough.
Yeah. So I also, I'm hoping it's a GPA boost though.
Yeah.
Because I figured 10 credit hours and easy Spanish course, it's just going to be like
Is Spanish 5 of them?
Spanish 1 and 2 are 5 credit hours each.
Oh,
Are you
okay.
doing like the Spanish, like,
No, I'm doing 2 separate ones.
okay.
Okay.
Is it like 1 6-week course, or
It's like 2
3
5-week
weeks?
courses.
2 5 weeks.
Intensive. You're gonna be a Spanish
I'm gonna be
master.
a master, even though you learn languages by using it on a daily basis, like in conversation. So I probably actually won't learn that much. I don't
Yeah.
know.
We
You're-
can do a foreign language podcast.
We'll just have
We
With
all speak different
different
languages.
languages.
we just all talk to each other
And
in
it's
different
just
languages.
a bunch of gibberish.
And to be native speakers of the language, it will also be gibberish.
I feel
'Cause
a
they'll
bit
get
left
one
out
side of it.
as there are no native ancient Greek speakers.
You can.
They're all
There
dead.
might be one. We
They're
had those
all-
Netherlands people. Who
they're
knows?
all
Who knows what they
dead.
know?
Those Netherland people.
Who
I
knows
think you're
what
gonna
they
need
know?
to explain this.
Well, we had like okay, so when we first started the podcast for the first couple of weeks, we had about 5 or 6 people from the Netherlands listening.
Oh yes,
So they speak Dutch in the Netherlands.
the Netherlands
a language?
people.
Dutch?
Dutch is a language.
They speak Dutch in the Netherlands.
They could speak ancient Greeks. We don't know.
We don't know that.
That's not at all what I thought you were going for
You
when
ever
you said
been
this
there?
the first time.
what were you thinking?
I was thinking that I don't know. I don't know. I didn't think you were referring to our 5 listeners in the Netherlands.
I didn't
Speaking
either,
ancient
but I
Greek.
remember that. That was
It was very surprising.
we
Yeah, but
had
we're global,
a cult following
Globe.
in the EU, across the pond, as they say.
as they
Across
say.
the pond.
And but anyways, it's the summer now. What have my co-hosts been up to since I don't see you every day in classes and such?
Nothing.
Not honestly.
Absolutely
I've-
nothing. Except research.
Yeah, see,
That's about it.
for one, I did research all this semester, and I am starting up research next Monday, actually, so it'll be 2 days before this podcast comes out.
I'd just like to throw out that one of my philosophy TAs from 2 semesters ago just walked by. I saw him.
Very good.
I was like, I know that guy. Go
Surprise guest.
I've been spending the last 3 weeks not doing anything at all because I will be spending the next 6 to 8 weeks doing a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
Like 8 hours a day, intensive, garbage.
And
Garbage.
we don't want to prepare for that. Instead, we're going to take this time
To do nothing.
to lay around and be a degenerate,
Yeah.
As you do.
as you do.
I've been learning MATLAB.
That's,
Very exciting.
That's something. So,
And me and Carter have both been learning C++.
as we found out when we got here
As
today.
we found out today.
How far are you?
I am done with pointers and references.
You're farther than me then,
Okay.
because I just finished like enums and
Oh, gotcha.
constructs. But anyways,
That made sense to
that's a bit of
everybody.
gibberish.
Say, for someone who doesn't care about C++ at all, let's
Google
move
it.
on.
But what's so you've been doing research, Carson? What do you do for your
I am
research?
doing 2D materials. So I am looking at single layer
Mhm.
pieces of graphene right now. And basically what I'm doing is I use a scotch tape, and we've talked about I think on the podcast
Yeah.
before, the old scotch tape method, and I'm splitting apart this piece of graphite over and over and over again until we hopefully get single layers, transfer it over to a silicon wafer, and then I spend about 2 hours looking through an optical microscope trying to find a piece of graphene on there. And then I do the same thing with HBN, and basically we basically make a sandwich of HBN and graphene in the middle,
Mhm.
and then we look at it through an AFM, which is a microscope that looks at it on an atomic scale. So it basically just looks at atom to atom as it crosses over it. And
For the
then
listeners, do you know what AFM stands for?
atomic
something microscope.
atomic something microscope. Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Something that starts with an F.
Yeah, something starts with an F. And yeah, that's basically all I've been doing so far because I've only been a couple weeks in.
Mhm.
So
Well, Taylor, do you want to explain your research to our listening audience?
All right. It's been a while since I've talked about my research.
Mhm.
3 weeks, but
To
we'll get-
forget
okay.
everything you've learned.
To forget everything that I've learned. But what I'm doing pretty much is I'm just gonna say a bunch of garbage.
As this podcast is going to be.
As this
is the
as this
trash
podcast
podcast.
as I am apparently.
I am simulating the propagation of low energy electrons, meaning I am using a program to run simulations to simulate the propagation of low energy electrons.
As we said, we're
As we
studying
said.
propagation.
Propagation.
Can you define propagation? No.
No,
We got it.
we got it.
We got it.
It's like creation, isn't it?
In
Propagation.
movement,
Yeah.
Of low energy
how they move around.
electrons.
So I'm working with
They're
Dr.
just slow moving.
Centurion,
Mm-hmm.
and the way he explained it to me was there's radiation, and when radiation hits matter, we know basically what happens with high energy electrons. We know what goes on. We've studied it. We can produce it in a lab, but we have not been able to produce low energy electrons in a lab before.
Mm-hmm.
And so the goal with what I'm doing is to run a series of simulations that gets us to the point where we know what sort of things to set up and how to configure things so that we can make low energy electrons, because they don't know. The problem with them is we don't know what happens when they hit matter, because it causes some sort of like degeneration in matter. It breaks stuff apart, but we don't know if these low energy electrons join an atom and they like are
Go
in
into
orbit
it,
for a little
yeah.
bit and it
Okay.
causes a degeneration in the atom itself, or if it's an immediate, like instantaneous, it breaks it apart as soon as it contacts it.
Like
So,
a collision.
like a collision. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to get pulses of these low energy electrons as small as we possibly can with like reversing magnetic cavities. I don't remember what they were called. He explained it to me once, but we're gonna use these cavities to squeeze these packets of electrons as tight together as we can, and then we'll know exactly when the pulse starts and ends, and so we know how long the impact is on whatever matter we're shooting it into. And then from that, we can see how long it took for everything to break apart. And from that, we can tell whether or not it's doing it immediately.
And the pulse is going to be really small, like in femtoseconds. Won't
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Yeah. I have heard of this before.
This is very interesting. It's like an unsolved problem, I suppose, as all researchers would be working on.
Hopefully.
I too am doing summer research, as a lot of people in the physics department do. I only just sort of started my project very recently, but what I'm going to be doing is helping create machine learning algorithms for particle accelerators, so they are able to so you want particle accelerators to be able to detect electrons and photons and particles like this, and you get way too much data to look at all of it out of particle accelerators, so you need the accelerator to be able to decide this is an interesting event, this is not. And so instead of teaching the accelerators what to look for, we are using machine learning to teach them how to teach themselves what to look for and what will be interesting events. And so that's
kind of save manpower by just having the computer do it.
I'm writing.
Gotcha.
That's the point of computers, save manpower.
But secretly, I'm creating an AI robot army.
To collect stamps.
To collect stamps, yes. I'm going to take over the world. Super intelligent. I've been listening to a book called Super Intelligence, which is about this, about what the world would look like after super intelligent AI. It's pretty dry, but there's like a British narrator, so I think it's great. I'm not going to go into it too deep right now. It's pretty dry and a bit doom and gloomy, but yeah. So that's us. That's what we've been doing. What have you been getting up to this summer, listeners? Interesting.
Oh,
That's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, that was neat.
Yeah. But anyways, something else we've been doing a lot of during this summer is nothing. A whole bunch of just like walking around and seeing things. And we saw something. Me and Taylor were out yesterday, and last night, and we saw something rather interesting on the side of O Street.
It was okay. So for any of you Lincolnites, it was the intersection 48th and O. We went to, there's a Super Saver right there, and Carter and I were running to doing a late night grocery store run to the Super Saver
To buy groceries.
And while we were going past, there were, I would say, a couple hundred people.
Hundreds of people.
Hundreds?
On the corners, like all four corners, just standing there. We were like, "What's?"
Is it like a protest or something?
That's what I
we
thought. That's
So
what I thought at first.
We should walk them through what happened. So we drive by, and we see like a couple of people on one corner,
with like a bunch of lights, and I was like,
and like a little car.
What is
that?
that?
They were
What
driving
is
through.
that?
Yeah, what's happening? And then I look across the street, scanning with my eyeballs, and I get across the street, and there's hundreds of people. And at that point, I'm very confused.
We're both freaking out.
Yeah.
But we just
Hundreds is quite a bit.
It was a lot. I
Yeah.
took a couple pictures. Maybe we can put them in the show notes.
just lining the streets. But we go along with our business, get to the Super Saver parking lot, and get out to go do our grocery shopping.
And we look across the street to the corner. We're still talking about it. What's going on? What do you think this is? And there's smoke. There's smoke everywhere.
Super
So
Saver
is
just
it
caught on fire.
Is it a fire? Are they evacuated? There wouldn't be 200 people in
because
they were out in front of a Walgreens.
A Walgreens and a CVS. And
So-
those were the stores on the corner.
Even if they were ablaze, there would not be 200 people in a Walgreens
No.
at 11:30 at night. So
And also, first of all, I don't know if Walgreens stays open that late. Second of all, there were no police trucks.
or fire trucks.
Police trucks, fire trucks. There were some police cars,
There were.
though.
We'll get to that later.
There
There
were
were police.
This is getting crazy.
It was
keeps
it was
building.
very strange.
But anyways, we see the smoke rising, and we think maybe it's a protest. But we're very curious. We keep tentatively taking steps towards it because we don't want to get embroiled in whatever this is.
We can somehow find ourselves involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And getting mugged or something. But curiosity got the better of us, and we
walked over.
walked over.
It was quite a waste. It was like it was probably 2 parking lots length.
Of
Couple
just
blocks.
people.
Well, no, just away from
okay.
us.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and the people stretched down, a block or two, just lining the streets.
Yep.
Now I'm picturing like a giant barbecue at like midnight.
That
That's
was in my mind.
That's a good picture.
Yeah, because
There
it's
were-
like
It's
there's
like
a smoke
tailgating,
and it's
yeah.
like people in line for
'Cause
barbecue.
As we got there, you realize you sort of get a feel for what
The
kind of
type of
people are in this
people there.
crowd.
yeah.
Okay.
And it is, there's a lot of, shirtless dudes and things like that. So it did kind of feel like a barbecue.
Yeah, imagine like a bunch of drunk tailgaters in front of Memorial Stadium,
Mhm.
But instead in front
but
of
a little
Walgreens.
trashier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Am I allowed to be saying this about these people?
Well, yes.
Yes.
Not all of them, not each individual person. If you were there, you might not have been trashy, but the collective whole was a little
It had
trashy.
it had a vibe of trashy guy.
Had a
And-
vibe.
It walking up, it became very clear to me at least. I don't know about Carter.
It took me a very long time to realize what they were doing, because it was like, I felt like every time I kind of realized what they were doing, I was like, no, that's stupid. There's no way this many people would be here. And you're going to get an even bigger trashy vibe as we describe why there were 200 people in front
So
of this
it became
Walgreens.
very clear to me while we were walking over that it was some sort of car thing.
Oh.
There
we
were
go.
cars revving up at every corner,
Mhm.
and from every direction there were old cars, shiny cars, shitty little. There were little.
Interesting cars. And maybe or maybe not, you've just witnessed the first use of our newfangled bleep technology, which
Yeah.
in this
Ugh.
more free-form situation might have to be
It
used
may just be me saying a word
every now and again.
just right over it,
I
or
like
it could
that
be a
idea.
noise. We don't know yet.
So-
We'll
but
figure it out.
we'll figure something
Post-editing.
out.
Something happened there, listeners.
A little audio glitch kind of happened, and my voice just exploded
we're,
out.
we're just gonna move on. But anyway,
So, yeah, it was. I don't know if I don't think they were racing.
no, because there was normal
Okay, that's where I thought it
traffic.
was going.
Like the
There was
streets
normal traffic.
were not blocked off. This wasn't an official thing, right?
Yeah,
This was like a flash mob
because
that
I had
someone
just
set up.
driven through that
A
intersection
flash mob.
Yeah.
of
Okay.
cars, but there were like some nice looking like old cars, and then there were just like
Just-
junker
Yeah,
cars
beaters. Yeah.
that were just there to make a bunch of noise.
And people would be like spinning their tires when the light went green and things like this, and racing and whatnot. And we did see one person get pulled over.
And everyone was like cheering when it happened. They were like, "Outrun him!"
Yeah, they
Like-
Outrun
they
him.
wanted this person to get in a high-speed chase with a police officer,
Good.
and that did not happen.
Obviously,
Fortunately or unfortunately, and there was a big, sigh of disappointment from the crowd.
there was one guy because we walked up. We were in the crowd for a little bit.
Yes.
And we were right, eye line with the cars, and there was one guy who ran out and like gave him a high five or something in the car in front of traffic,
Yeah.
mind you.
While traffic was moving,
And with the cop just giving him a ticket, or is this
No,
not the same
that
person?
that guy had not got pulled over yet.
this was at a different time, and so there was a lot of just interesting
Confusion.
activity. Yeah, no one was following the rules.
There was flares. That's what the fire
yeah,
was.
that
People were
smoke
lighting
There
off
were
flares.
People were lighting
Wow.
off flares and just like waving them around. That's what the smoke was from. I guess we didn't bring that up.
Yeah,
This is
because it wasn't a
Something
continuous
else.
smoke. It was like a
Yeah.
little bit of
It
smoke
was
every
like
once in a while.
flashes of
Well,
it.
it's not a fire. It would be continuous. It'd also be more black than that. It was
Yeah.
pretty white
It was.
smoke.
And so, I just want to know what happened. Did
Yeah.
someone set this up? Where did the call to arms go
yeah.
on?
Immediately
if it's
afterwards-
hundreds of people, it
On
must
what
have been like
platform?
Immediately afterwards, we both talked to our friend who is a Lincolnite himself, and he was like,
I have no idea.
I have no
I've never
clue
heard
what
of
that
this.
is.
So
it's
Huh.
not like a common thing. I would put it in the top 2 or 3 most degenerate things I have ever seen. And
There we
I am
go.
a college student.
hmm
Just throwing that
So-
out there.
you can
Woo.
take from that what you will.
I do have
Yeah.
one thing to say now that since we're on the topic of walking around and finding weird things.
Very good.
The other day on Thursday there was a chemical explosion in the nanoscience area.
Which is
do you work on the
connected
nano
to
side?
Jorgensen.
No, I work 3rd floor of Jorgensen.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Not the 4th, but close
Not
enough.
the fourth.
Close
No one
enough.
works on the
He
4th
can
floor.
sometimes hear a little rumbling
I
coming
can
from
hear
the
a
fourth
rumbling of
floor.
something.
There
up
was
there.
actually an explosion on the 4th
Yes,
floor.
so from what I understand, it was 2 electrical engineers who were using the clean room in the
Jeez.
nanoscience area, and some nitric oxide. I think nitric oxide just was in a container and exploded. And there were like, basically it was strange though because you could smell it on the 2nd floor of
Mhm.
Jorgensen as you were leaving.
Hmm.
But the nanoscience area is supposed to be locked down, so nothing gets out of there.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know what happened there, but
Vents.
they evacuated the building, and all my stuff, my backpack was inside. Many people left their keys and wallets and everything
Of
upstairs
course.
and stuff. So we decided we were just going to take a little jaunt
We
around
being
campus.
you and Ethan.
Me being me, Ethan, Michael, and I'm sorry I don't remember the other person's name. Anyways, we
They're
were.
gonna listen and they're gonna be offended.
They're gonna be absolutely offended at me.
They're gonna stop listening.
I don't
But
think the listeners know who Michael is.
or Steve.
don't
may know
Steve
Steve.
I know. Michael is another person that works with us. He's also a physics student, and he also works with me and Ethan for Professor Hong.
And
over the
that's all you
summer.
need to know about him.
Don't worry about it.
Bump bump.
Sometimes
Okay.
people call him Steve.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
listen for the
That does
Steves as
happen.
well.
We decided to venture around campus because we usually don't leave
Jorgensen.
Jorgensen, so
We're stuck.
we
in
didn't
here.
really
we're
know what was
locked in.
happening. But we found many interesting things. Starting out, we went to Architecture Hall in search of the urinal. It's the largest.
Architecture Hall is quite a ways away from Jorgensen.
It is.
Yes,
We
it's
ventured
across
all the
campus.
way across campus that day. We ventured to the Architecture Hall to look for the largest urinal west of the Mississippi.
I
Is
have
the-
seen these urinals.
I
And I
haven't
have as
seen
well.
the urinals. Is this like a commonly known fact? Because I've never heard of these massive urinals.
I've only heard of it a couple of times.
And I've been to Architecture Hall quite a few times.
They're massive.
They're
huge.
and there's also a nice poem there.
Yeah, it talks.
well?
It tells
About
you.
the urinals, can you recite it? Any parts of it?
I have a picture of the urinals. I could
Okay.
probably pull it up.
So,
It would take a minute though.
listeners, look in the show notes first of all for the pictures of the O Street fiasco and these urinals. We'll have a nice
we'll
gallery
have both
for
of those
you.
on there. We also found the golden toilet.
I don't know about that.
There's a golden toilet,
It's not actually golden, but
as it wouldn't be.
you go up to the the new business business hall,
College of Business.
College of Business,
Yeah.
the giant building in the middle of
Yep.
campus.
It is
course.
the newest building on campus,
It
and it
is.
is massive.
Massive, absolutely
and
massive.
glass.
And glass. It's very modern looking,
Mhm.
Mhm.
very new.
But you go up to the 5th floor, and you have to take an elevator up there. You can't take stairs. And
No
then you go over
stairs.
to the right, and there's just a bathroom there. It's like a family bathroom type of thing. You walk in there, very nice looking. It's got a chair in the corner.
You guys were just
A chair?
perusing all the bathrooms of
Well,
campus.
somebody in our group. Oh, Jesse was there as well.
Jesse was also
He was
Jesse-
the other guy you didn't remember the name of.
Well, he is not the other guy. I don't remember. There was one other person there I did not remember.
there. Jesse's crying right now.
But we ventured up there because he knew about it, and
Did
this
they
toilet.
You said it was nice. Did they have like an attendant with little soaps?
They did not have an attendant, but they did have a chair in the corner for somebody to
Mm,
sit in as they
good.
were waiting. But this toilet, it was a full glass wall next to the toilet, and there is just a full view of the stadium. Just it fills up, like the entire glass wall fills
What?
with the stadium. I'm not kidding. And there's like it's fantastic,
incredible.
honestly. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic.
I would like to see this.
5th floor business.
We can go on an adventure to get some pictures.
We could get some pictures, put it on the show notes. The show notes just a bunch of pictures.
Is it weird to go to a bathroom explicitly for taking pictures?
There were 5 of us.
No, have
just
you
looking at it.
ever interacted with a high school girl?
Oh yeah, fair play. I'll give you that. Strangely enough, I've never been in the girls' restroom of a high school.
I don't think I can say I have either. So
But I get where you're going with
There's a lot of picture. I'm pretty sure this is a universal thing. Maybe it's just my high school, but
It's universal.
there was
It's
a lot
definitely
of
gonna be universal.
picture taking in the bathroom. It doesn't make sense to
Which is
me.
a little weird. But
it's the best background. You got
The
toilets,
toilets, the sinks.
you got the
Mhm.
sinks. It's perfect.
you need it.
What could go wrong?
Good.
But
Very good.
Can we just talk a second about the sort of, I guess, irony of architecture hall, right? Architects go there.
Okay.
How insane and stupid and disgusting of an amalgamation of a building architecture hall is.
So for people that do not know, it is basically a combination of the old building and the new building. But when I say a combination of, I mean they literally just
They-
stuck the new building onto the side of the old building.
They're not even stuck. You imagine they built out. They did not build out. They built a second building
on top of the opening.
next to the other building, and then encased it in glass or whatever.
Yep.
It's like if
The
you
doorway.
if you had two distinct buildings and one's kind of old and brick and looks like an old school or something, and then you have a newer building and some giant creature just took their hands and smushed them together and combined their
And then
walls.
used bricks and filled in the seams.
And inside of architecture hall,
You can get lost.
you can get it's ridiculous. And
We ventured out there. We found a 4th floor graduate study area. It was unlocked, so we just went in there, and it just looked like a startup company area. It just had a conference area, just desks, papers everywhere, and stuff. It's confusing though. You go downstairs that lead to these little hallways, and just you don't know where you are after
it looks
a
like
minute.
you're in some tunnel system, and
And-
then the floors. If you ask what floor am I on when I'm in architecture hall, who knows? They're not integers. You could be on floor 1.2. You could be on floor 3.5. They have it doesn't make any sense.
No.
This urinal as well. The first time, because I had heard about it, and I was like, well, obviously I'm going to go see that. You go and look for it. It's not marked or anything. It's in a public restroom still. So I was just a girl in a male's restroom,
As you do.
Yeah.
as you do.
Well, when it has such a acclaimed urinal, you got to expect such things.
There is no indication where it is though.
Oh.
It's
You
go
honestly
in-
just go searching for it.
yeah, we searched for
On a quest.
probably
have to be on a quest
25
for it,
minutes
yeah.
before we found it, because the person I was with, neither of us knew where it was.
Hmm.
It's you go in, and then you turn right, and you go down a hallway, and then you go down a thinner hallway. It's
Mhm.
one person wide.
Yeah.
This hallway is,
You have to
and at
turn
the
sideways
end of it is a restroom.
and shimmy down the hallway, and there's pipes around you.
Yep,
It's awful.
and
And-
then there's a urinal.
So you'll be in these weird, really thin hallways, and off to your right there will be glass or something, and there's a classroom there, but you'd have to drop down 3 or 4 feet. It's not a floor, but you're just above the classroom slightly,
Mhm.
and they have catwalks and things. It's a ridiculous building.
Yeah, there are stairs that lead to very small hallways, which lead to nothing. It's just it's
Yeah.
honestly like the Winchester house.
Yeah.
That's they have doors leading nowhere. They have stairs that go up into the ceiling, and nothing's there. It's just it's bizarre.
For our listeners who do not know what the Winchester House is,
So basically, the Winchester, as the shotgun company, I
Mhm.
think they were the founders of it or whatever. And the wife's husband died, and she just kind of went crazy and just started building this house. She just built this house because she had money to build a house, and she just had stairs leading to nowhere, doors that wouldn't actually open, or you could open them and it would just be outside. There's just a drop off.
if I had a bunch of money, that's what I would do. I'd just make a bunch of
Incredible house.
stuff.
Just things.
I just
Put something
handmade
there.
What's the money pit that's on some island?
Oak Island.
Oak Island, and you can
Oak
there are
Island,
the
yeah.
levels every 100 feet or whatever. There's a platform.
You have to
Yeah,
bust
Oak
through
Island
the-
hole.
is known as the money pit because there is just a
Something
big
down there.
hole in it, and no one knows what's at the bottom.
It's like a vertical tunnel.
From what I know about it, I think Ethan was telling me about it. There are holes that just go out to the ocean,
Yeah.
Just like random little tunnels that go all the way out to the ocean to have water come in and
Yeah.
fill it up.
Right,
If some,
'cause
like a
if
booby
you-
trap.
it's
If you
there-
try
it is
to
booby
if you
trapped.
try to go down, venture down into there, there's like things you have to move out of the way, and when you move these things out of the way, it's like floodgates. You open it up and all the water comes in.
And all your progress.
But
and
they know they put, I think it was like red dye or something. They dropped red dye into it, and it came out in like 3 distinctly different points around the island. Like
Oh,
it is
yeah.
a whole tunnel system or something underneath this island, and they don't know what's down there. But it's called the Money Pit because some people think like the Ark of the Covenant's down there.
Yeah, or some
The Ark of the Covenant.
some treasure or what have you.
Yeah.
And it's also called the Money Pit because several wealthy people have gotten
Have
very
dumped
interested
money
in this
into it.
hole and dumped fortunes into it. But we cannot get to the bottom because of the sort of engineering. And that's also interesting because this is clearly put by someone sort of intelligent.
Because
it
it
is
has
engineered.
it has
Well,
wooden
and
pallets all the way up and
Another
everything.
thing too is like the resources. I don't remember where they said that they would have originated from, but it was like miles and miles, like countries away from, because it's in Canada. It's
Yeah.
in like the little islands up in the north of Canada, and these like there's like ancient like bricks and stuff that would have come from, I don't know, like South America or something.
Yeah.
Somewhere really far away. Like someone who came from somewhere else would have had to have done this.
And
Which isn't that also supposed to be like the reason why they think pirates may have done it? They were like trying
Yeah,
to
'cause they
hide
were
something
sailing
there.
Yeah,
around,
some kind of
Because like they would have had like riches and stuff from taking over other ships, and
Right.
that might have been where the other materials have come from. They confiscated it from a ship,
right. Yeah,
brought it up there.
that's a theory.
I would do it just for the giggles, If I was in Canada, in history when it's boring, history is boring. I mean, living in it, the actual subject,
Yeah.
But that's just because we sort of distill it into the interesting bits. But if I was bored and in Canada in the 1600s or whatever, I'd dig a big hole and booby trap it just for the giggles, just to be like someone in the future is gonna get obsessed with this and
They're gonna wonder.
They're gonna
No
wonder.
They're gonna-
documentation.
Nothing's gonna be actually
there's
down
probably
there.
there's probably nothing. There's gonna be like a drawing of a butt or something at the bottom. Got him.
Got him. It's gonna say got him.
Got
right
'em.
at the
Got 'em.
bottom. It's gonna go several miles into the earth. This hole will.
Yeah.
And
and
Got
just
'em.
There's gonna be a troll face at the bottom of the money pit. But as we're on the sort of topic of mysteries, the mystery of Architecture Hall, the mystery of the money pit, I would like to go into the mystery of this creature that myself and Taylor saw one night as we were lost, perusing the streets of Lincoln.
I'm sort of embarrassed that we got lost as well because we were maybe 4 blocks away from where we needed to go.
Yeah.
And
well,
I took a wrong turn, and I thought I was going down
Completely missed
27th
it, yeah.
Street, and I thought that 27th Street went to the street I was trying to get on, because Lincoln has a bunch of one-ways and a bunch of like blocked off roads, and I was like, okay, I can't go this way. I'll go this way instead. This road will take me to this other road.
Yeah.
And so we were going down 27th Street for way longer than it would have taken to get to this road, and I was like, oh, I need to turn off at 27th now because we're somewhere else.
yes.
Uh-huh.
You're in the wrong place.
And so we end up in South Lincoln, which isn't very far from where we were going anyways. But we're in South Lincoln, driving around in some fairly nice neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And it's dark, and
Yeah, it's like 11:30 or midnight.
Yeah, and we're just looking around, and there is this image, this
Creature.
thing that I don't know if you've ever. They're in your room or something. So if in your room it's dark, and you're in your room, and you're looking like in your closet or something, and you're like, I see a face in my
Yes.
clothes, and I'm like, I know it's not there. I'll go
But
turn
there's
the
a
light
face
on
there.
and look at it, and there's a face there.
Yeah.
It's something kind of like that. It's like at first glance, this thing is horrible and like this
Awful
very.
and disgusting.
I don't even know how to describe it. We have since been referring to it as the creature because it is like this hunched over white mess of like. Have you ever seen? I'm gonna try to find it and put it in the show notes. But there is a sort of Japanese commercial with a dog that stands up on its legs, but it's like a man in a dog suit, but it's like a really realistic dog suit, and he
I
does a
could
little
not say
dance,
I've seen this.
and it's like really uncanny valley. It's awful and
Okay.
horrible to watch. I'll show it to you
Yeah.
like as soon as we're done here. But it was like that. It was super uncanny valley, and it was really gross to look at. And then we realized that
Because Carter's, I was looking at the road as you do because I was driving, and what did you say? You were like, "Oh, what is that?"
yeah, I looked over at it and it startled me. It was
And
awful.
so-
and I made a noise.
Going into it, I had not seen it yet, and so going into it as something that I should be startled by, I immediately saw what I imagine we saw the same
About
thing.
the same thing, yeah.
And
Okay.
I like glanced at it and I like jumped and I was like, "Oh, what is that?" You know, like
Yeah.
freaked me out. And when within a couple seconds, we realized it was just an old lady bent over, picking up her newspaper.
she was in like this all white tracksuit
Oh,
or
no.
whatever, and she
Cream.
was cream, yeah, and she was like bent over and hunched over and picking
Yeah.
something up. So
And that's all it was.
It's just.
It was horrifying.
but she
Creature of
about
Lincoln.
gave us a heart attack. She was
I-
out walking her
I-
dog.
And there's in one of the universes out there, I ran off the road. I just
Oh,
swerved my
okay,
car
absolutely,
off the road
yeah.
and crashed, and we died.
And she comes over to, obviously she would, being a nice old lady, comes over to investigate, and we just say,
And-
"Oh, we're sorry, you were disgusting."
You scared me. I'm sorry. Please get away from me.
Please
She would
go
too.
away.
She'd come over because
Yeah.
we crashed right in front of her
Yeah.
house.
Yeah, and so yeah, we've seen some interesting things. That's the lesson we've learned here, is that just go out and drive
Yeah.
around Lincoln at
At
midnight,
night,
and you'll see some
something
stuff.
will happen.
Yeah, you're getting into an adventure. But yeah, we had an adventure on the way here as well. We were behind some guy on a scooter.
He was a guy on a little moped with way too good posture, you know, sitting up with
Yeah.
his head on top of
Really
his body,
straight.
his neck way too straight.
Like some jerk.
And he was driving 15 under the speed limit and just coasting.
you know, North Antelope.
Yep.
Yes.
So there was a guy that was just biking up it, like up that hill to like the intersection.
Yep.
Like he was just biking all the way up it, and I was like, why? Like
As
I don't know. You could just go under the bridge and go out on the other side,
as
but
people
you decided
who
to bike over it.
bike often, you
Yes.
know, I can't judge this guy.
We have.
But it seems like a very busy intersection to be biking across.
I bet it was Michael.
Michael.
I bet it was Michael.
So my roommate is named Michael, and he purchased a new bike at the beginning of the summer, and he is sort of in the nicest way, he's obsessed with this new bike.
Yeah.
He has a bike problem, and he talks about it all the time. And he talked about it all the time while he was at work. He works at a place called Shillingbridge. It's like a restaurant, and his coworkers have started referring to him as Mycicle
Bicycle.
because he's
Michael Bicycle.
Michael
Yeah.
Bicycle,
Bicycle.
which is stupid
I think Bicycle's
because
much
Bicycle
better.
is way better.
I agree.
Michael is way better.
And if you
we
s-
refer to him as Bicycle.
If you say Bicycle to his coworkers, they'll say no, it's Mycicle, which is ridiculous. They're idiots, honestly, but
No, you can't say that.
none of them listen, so it's fine. But yeah, Bicycle, that's something he'd do, is just bike all the way.
Yeah.
We've been biking quite a bit. Do you bike often, Carson?
I do not bike often.
We have.
I should, but I live. I don't. See, I don't know. I don't know exactly what path I would take to get here on a bike.
You could take any path to get here on a bike. You don't have to go on
It's
the bike
true.
paths.
just bike in
fair.
the middle of the street,
Middle of the
like
street.
you're a car.
Bike on the
Like
left
you're a
side of
car.
the street.
We saw some bike
Left side, yeah.
with a motor on it,
A motorbike,
Motorbike.
as they say.
but it was like a
Almost a
bike that you
motorcycle.
could
It was just
pedal.
a bike. It was a motorized bike.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know
like-
when you say two things very similar but they mean something different?
Yeah.
Motorbike, motorized bike. Those are two very different things.
Yes.
Motorbike. That's true. Motorized bike. I see those every once in a while, and one of them I saw was extremely like it just smelled like gas as
Yep.
it was driving by.
They usually do.
Like it was really bad.
Yep.
Carson, If
That's my
I
name.
say the two phrases nosebleed and bloody nose to you, do those mean different things?
No,
No?
not to me.
To me, a bloody nose is when someone has struck you in the
Boom.
nose,
Yeah.
and now your nose is bleeding.
I can
Whereas a
see what you
nosebleed
mean.
is you just standing around, your nose starts bleeding, because that's a thing that happens. 'Cause
That
it's-
makes more sense.
Yeah.
Because a bloody nose is saying that your nose is bloodied.
It has been
It
bloodied.
has been bloodied.
It has
as
been
they
bloodied.
say.
Anyway.
See, I get that.
But that's another one of these instances. We talk about these instances a lot, where you say the exact same thing or very close analogies, and they mean something very different. And I'm annoyed by them, but you know.
They exist.
But this guy on the scooter he was sitting very straight.
Oh yes, the scooter guy.
That's where we started with all this,
We're
and
coming right back to the scooter guy.
we hit a lot of red lights while we were behind him on the way here, and he would stop at the red lights like 40
4 or
feet.
5 car lengths behind.
Oh.
And then just like
roll up
roll
at
forward
a couple miles
with
an
his
hour.
feet dragging on the ground.
He's just like
And we
skipping
kept-
along.
What are
Because
you
if you're
doing?
driving north anywhere in Lincoln, it's all timed lights, so you just hit all of them. If you
Yeah,
hit
you
one,
hit-
you hit all of
yeah,
them
yeah.
every time. And we hit every single light behind this guy who was coasting.
Mm.
I bet he hit the gas 3 times on that whole street.
And he was, he had, I could see like a little bit of a ponytail coming out. He had these purple socks, a satchel bag.
He was ready to go.
He was this guy.
Yeah.
And
That guy.
he was
that
that guy. And he was making us very upset.
On
Yeah,
a
hitting
moped.
every red light, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
And that's why we were 15 minutes late, not because we didn't leave the apartment until it was time to be here.
Of course not.
Of course.
Anyways, we've got Scooter Guy. I'm marking this up. I got my talking points right here. Scooter Guy's out. We talked
Scooter
about
guy's
him.
gone.
Scooter guy's out.
Next up on
in
this
the trash.
actual list I have in front of me is so I want to talk about animals. I unfortunately, in my apartment that I have over the summer, am not allowed to have pets, and I'm very upset by this.
At all. You
No
can't have
pets.
fish.
You
if
can have
if you
fish.
if you have a pet, if the Lord of Lands,
Yes, the Lord of Lands, Tracy.
if she
as he calls
expects
him.
you have a pet, she is legally allowed to search your apartment.
Ooh.
With no warning.
With no warning.
She can search your apartment, but she will give you a 1-week notice. Unless she suspects you have an unauthorized pet, in which she can just come in. And that's on the lease that you signed. She's allowed to do this.
I don't know if I like that, honestly.
And
Don't have a pet.
don't
Yeah, don't I mean,
have
yeah,
a pet.
obviously don't have a pet, yeah.
You are allowed to have fish, but
Do-
fish are stupid. Go on.
Do
yes.
so there's some baby birds up in a vent in your apartment.
Yes.
They're pretty much, you can hear them scraping, like they're probably a couple inches away from being inside the apartment.
Mhm.
Do those count?
They're not my pet. They just live there.
Yeah, so that then leads to
They're
the argument.
squatters.
If
you
there
know.
was there happened to be a turtle that ended up
That just
in your
walked in?
They
apartment,
walked right in.
and that before we get
is
into
that a
this,
pet?
this is I have wanted a turtle for oh so very long.
Turtle's great.
At least a couple months. I've been sitting around watching videos of turtles eating things. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I'm gonna put in a couple turtles eating things in these show notes.
So
because-
actually, real quick, while we're talking about this, and listeners, you can tell me what you think about this. I'm actually thinking for this podcast, when I make the video, I'm thinking of just taking those videos and just like playing them.
turtle
over-
eating.
On top
Like,
of it,
yeah,
so we
like-
don't put them in the show notes; they're just there.
Well, we could put them in the show notes too, but we
Mm-hmm.
could. I'm saying like we could just like play them over top of the.
yes.
This is
And
on
then, like,
YouTube.
On YouTube, and then on the show more thing, I can just link their YouTube channels.
Oh,
down
so
there.
then when we talk about pictures and stuff, we can
just like put the
stick 'em in.
picture up, and we can say
Oh.
you can look at this picture, and then boom, picture
That's
pops up.
immediately in front of you.
See,
I
I, think
mean-
that would be kind of cool, and if you guys like it, just
more
let me know.
visual stimulants.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not too much editing, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
That would
I
be
think
good.
it would
That's a
just
good
be
idea.
like taking it and just placing it in the track of video. So I don't know.
Yes.
I think it would be that easy.
So I think that would work out very nicely. But anyways, so we've got there's a lot of threads here that we needed to tie up. First of all, I want a turtle. I've been watching turtle videos. Turtles eating things is the most satisfying thing you can watch on the internet.
You heard it here first.
There are baby birds that have recently hatched. So we have like a little deck area because we're on the second floor. And sort of up in the top right corner of our deck above us, and sort of there have been baby birds that just scream all day.
As baby birds do.
As baby birds
That's what
do.
they do.
But they're sort of growing up now and they're leaving and not doing it anymore. But it has become apparent that these baby birds live sort of in my vents because a stick has fallen out of one of my ceiling vents.
Really?
So they're in
And
there.
like you can hear them scraping around. Like you can tell they're within inches of being in the apartment.
Wow.
So they're up there.
I feel like that could be like a health hazard, honestly.
I'm not
Birds
worried
are
about
fine.
it.
Birds are fine.
Birds are fine.
I think they're chill. I wouldn't kick them out.
I lived with a bird.
I could probably
Fair enough.
call somebody and be like, "Hey, can you get these birds out of here?" But I'm not gonna. They're cool, you know.
They're having fun.
Leave 'em
Speaking
alone.
of the birds on your deck, I have a couple of plants in Carter's apartment
Yes.
because I am displaced at the moment. I have some plants on the
I'm
apartment,
harboring plants.
and I have a small little. It's like a 4-inch pot, and it has oregano in it. And I'm sitting there talking to Carter and Michael. Michael is Carter's roommate, the
Mhm.
bike guy that we were biking.
Michael.
Michael.
Which he will for now be known as.
Forever be known as
Michael
Michael.
was there.
And I'm talking about how much I love watching birds
While you're watching birds.
while I'm watching these birds. Because, you know, in like every like 90s cartoon, you know, there's these rules, right? There's a lot of quicksand and you need to watch out for it. And bird watching is lame.
Mhm.
And those are the things that I took away from cartoons growing up.
But boy, were they wrong.
What?
I said, but boy, were they wrong.
But
I've
boy,
never
were they
once
wrong.
stepped in
Bird
quicksand.
watching, I was sitting there and I was like, man, you know what? I get it. Bird watching is cool. I love watching birds.
Birds are
They're so
crazy.
interesting to
They
watch.
just do stuff.
And I voiced this opinion out loud, and I'm sitting there watching these birds, and as I'm watching them, this
She's upset.
bird, I can't say the words that I want to use right now.
Yes, we're restraining ourselves.
This bird flies up and starts tearing my oregano plant apart. He like wants a sprig of it. He
Mhm.
flies up and he's ripping it apart.
And she starts like freaking out because me and Michael are not staring out of the sliding glass door as she is at the time,
You're
but
not
she
looking
starts
at
like
birds,
making
yeah.
noises at this bird, and I look over.
I'm like, hey, stop, you know, because the I think the screen was open, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
or something. But I catch like the last few seconds of this event, which is what's happening, and the bird has a sprig of oregano in its beak, and it just like, because Taylor's getting up to like go take it back or something,
Yeah.
and it just goes and hops off the deck and flies away. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen, especially because it made her really mad, which was hilarious.
I was a little upset. The oregano plant, surprisingly, you could fool me into thinking it didn't happen.
Mhm.
Besides the fact that the longest sprig coming out of it is gone now.
It had a lot. It was
Yeah.
like, a 4 or 5 inch sprig of
Just took
oregano.
the whole
And
thing
it
with
was like tearing it apart too. It was like he shaking his head and like all of it was going everywhere, but the plant looks fine.
You got robbed by a bird.
You know,
Yeah.
maybe that's what happened in the 90s. Maybe
Every-
all the cartoon
One
people,
cartoon
they just,
writer was really mad
yeah,
At a
because
bird.
some bird took his oregano.
he just took his oregano. He's like, you know what, this is it.
I have another bird anecdote.
Yeah, we got time for an anecdote.
I have another bird anecdote going back to, I mentioned I lived with a bird, meaning I had a pet bird in high school. He was a cockatiel. His name was Ringo, named after Ringo Starr of the Beatles.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ringo
Was he
the
funny
bird.
looking?
He was regular looking. He
Ah.
actually, so cockatiels have these big old like feather bits on
Yeah.
the top of their head.
It's like a mohawk kind of.
It's like a mohawk.
And red dots on their cheeks.
And the red dots on their cheeks. But the mohawks are sort of like I'm a big old male, you know,
Yeah.
like a big bad bird.
With
Look
a
at my big
mohawk.
old mohawk. His voice crack. His
His voice.
he
cracked.
was a little I had him for I think 3 years. So he was no longer a baby.
Mhm.
His never grew out.
Oh,
It
poor
was
Ringo.
really little. He had one that always curled. It was so cute.
He
he
was
tried
not a
though,
man.
didn't he?
He's
He
like,
would try and make it like he'd be like, see, look at
Yeah,
this.
he'd like put it up, but you'd look at pictures of cockatiels on the internet and they're huge. They're
Yeah.
their head things. His was little. They were short and there was only a couple of them.
don't call him cute, man. He's like trying to be a man.
He was
all
very cute.
masculine and
Anyways, so
He's
I
the
had this
toughest person
bird.
in the world.
I had this bird for like 3 years. I think I got him my freshman or sophomore year of high school. We speed up to my senior year of high school. I come home from school.
Can we talk about your grandma feeding your bird first?
All right, we can talk about. So first, okay, yes, this is some irony to the story. My grandmother has this thing. She had this thing, and it pissed me off. It made me so mad. She would on Sunday. So every Sunday morning, we would make eggs, as you do.
Yeah.
Sunday
as you
morning,
do.
eggs, breakfast.
Yeah.
She really liked giving some of the eggs to the bird, which
It's like
that's messed up.
It's a little
I
messed
don't
up.
cannibalism
agree.
a little bit.
It's like it is. It's
Yeah.
he's
It's not-
eating birds.
He's not. It's not like a.
He's eating. It's like if I took a bunch of fetuses and just chugged them.
It's not. It's like if you ate a monkey or something. Because they're not the same bird. They're chicken eggs. You're not feeding them cockatiel eggs.
I mean,
You-
what?
At this point, you might
birds
as well
eat.
be.
I think birds eat other bird eggs in the wild. Doesn't that happen?
This is the okay, and that's
In
the
the
real
wild.
kicker. That's the real kicker. This is what my grandma would always say. She would say, "Birds eat other birds. It's okay."
It's okay. It's a pet.
and then
though,
I
so,
would,
you
and then
know.
I would tell her, "My bird is a cockatiel, and they are vegetarians in the
Oh.
wild.
They
They
don't
do
eat
not eat
birds.
eggs. They don't eat. They eat fruits and they eat
Birds.
seeds. That's what these birds eat. They don't eat eggs." And next Sunday rolls around, I catch her feeding the bird eggs.
Catcher.
That just-
She does. I'd be like, "Grandma, don't give the bird eggs," and she's like, "I want to."
I want to.
And then every single time I would tell her, "Don't do that."
Yeah.
She'd go, "Birds eat other birds." So we flash forward, senior year of high school. I come home from school. I had just bought a bagel. I went out of my way to go to Panera. I bought one bagel and I was gonna eat it. I set it on the counter. I get my bird out of his cage because whenever I get home, he'd start squawking real loud because he doesn't want to be in his cage anymore.
It's always squawking at you.
So I get him. I put him on my shoulder, real pirate-like. Got
Yeah.
a bird on my shoulder.
Awesome.
I'd also recently gotten a puppy, and she had grown up enough that she wasn't a puppy anymore, but she's still very spry.
Mhm.
And I went to let her outside, and when I was letting her outside, bird on my shoulder, she jumps on me. And this scares the bird, and the bird's like, "Oh, well, where do I go? I go outside."
Yeah.
So he flies outside. I typically had his wings clipped as well, and I hadn't done it recently, so he got outside. He's flying around in my backyard, and this had happened once before, and he went and he flew into the pine. I have some pine trees in my backyard. He flew into the pine trees, and so I just went and got him. This time he flies around, circles my backyard, and goes down the street. And I was like,
Oh.
"All right,
We're on an
Awesome.
adventure.
Oh, well.
awesome." So I heard him tweeting too, echoing around the neighborhood,
Yeah.
and I couldn't find him for a while because he's very small. The bird is.
Okay.
And eventually, so I'll skip some of this. I find him in a tree, and I just sit under this tree for 3 hours as he's standing up there looking at me.
Just looking
He's
right
like,
at
"Hey, come get me. I'm stuck."
I'm stuck.
And so I'm looking at him, and I'm sitting there for 3 hours. And then 3 hours rolls around, and a hawk shows up and grabs him out of the tree and eats him.
Right in front of you.
Right in front of me.
Oh no.
Your bird gets eaten.
In which case, I heard the words "bird eat other
Oh.
birds" echoing in my mind.
Birds eat birds.
Birds
it
eat
happens.
Oh no. Oh my goodness. It is just.
And
Oh,
That's where we're
no. What a thrilling climax to this story, this anecdote, and
this
if-
story has a pretty good ending as well.
Yeah.
Does it?
In that
I find this hard to believe.
it's good in the sense that so I was going to college soon, and this bird really loved me, and he did not like other people really. He would
Okay.
bite other people. So, and obviously I can't take a bird to college. I would have gone to college, and he would have pulled his feathers out and
Terrorized everyone.
Eddie just would have been an awful little poop head.
There we go.
And so I don't want to say it was a good thing that my bird got eaten, but I think it's better than him slowly killing himself, pulling his feathers out.
So, it all worked out in the end. And with that, we're at around, the length of a normal podcast. So we're going to have to leave you here, listeners. This was,
I had fun.
I had fun. I think this
I think
was a
this
good
was
shift.
Yeah.
Not quite as sciencey as some of our
I
other
mean, we
members
talked about
might.
our research at the beginning.
expect.
That's true.
So, that's us. That's what we got. Let us know your thoughts on the new format. We did not tell any of our other podcast members that we were going to do this.
A nice surprise.
This did
for
not happen because we showed up with nothing prepared either. Just throwing that out there.
We are always very diligent in
making
preparing.
making a game is easy, you know. Everybody likes it.
Everybody can do it. But, we thought the old segments were getting a bit stale.
It's been a while. We've done a lot of episodes.
Yeah. So this is what we got now. Let us know your thoughts. And with that, you've been listening to What's on the Fourth Floor. But what's on the fourth floor?
I
Still
think
don't know.
What's there?
I think it is a factory of birds eating other birds.
Oh, okay.
It's like Human Centipede, but with eating, and they're birds instead.
It's just
what?
No. Do you know like Russian nesting dolls?
It's like
bird eats
so
this
you got
bird,
like a
and this bird
parakeet.
eats
The
this
parakeet's eating eggs, and then a hawk eats the parakeet, and then an ostrich eats the hawk.
And they're trying to engineer bigger birds.
Hello? If you're still here, it's because you're looking for more. If that's the case, check us out on Facebook at What's on the Fourth Floor and Twitter at OnFloor4. Again, that's Facebook, What's on the Fourth Floor, Twitter at OnFloor4. That's at OnFloor, the number 4.